To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. On July 1st, Florida's 2024-25 fiscal year budget kicks in. Sounds like routine stuff, but reading top lines and bottom lines speaks to priorities, and what they're saying, no surprise, in Tallahassee depends on which side of the political aisle they sit. First, a preview from our Tallahassee reporter, Forrest Saunders.
It's another big one.
All right, here it is.
Just not as big as it could have been. Governor Ron DeSantis signing off on about $116.5 billion in the next fiscal year's budget, just a bit under the current spending plan.
Historic support for education, historic support for conservation and environment and protecting natural resources, historic support for transportation and infrastructure, and major tax relief, all the while the budget is actually spending less than we did last year. Aren't you happy to see that?
The governor also cutting about $1 billion from the version lawmakers sent him. Projects getting diced include $80 million for state group insurance within the Florida college system, $30 million for the New Worlds tutoring program, plus plans for a $26.2 million research facility at the University of West Florida. For taxpayers, the highlights include more than $1 billion in tax cuts through sales tax holidays and other programs like toll relief, more per-student allocations for public schools, plus an additional $200 million for teacher salaries. While fiscal conservatives raved that spending was down and there was an expected $17 billion in surplus reserves,
you always know where somebody's priorities are of where they spend their money.
Florida Democrats were on the attack Wednesday, saying Florida Republicans aren't doing enough to address affordability issues like housing costs and insurance.
This is on the Florida Republican Party, and it's 30 years in its making, and that's how we got into this moment.
DeSantis addressed property insurance in questions, noting that reforms to curb litigation appeared to be showing results. At least 8 new companies entering the market, and some companies seeking rate decreases this year.
But any politician that comes and tells you that they're going to be able to just guarantee you they are selling you snake oil, because that's just not the way it works. It's a private market.
Joined now by longtime News Channel 5 political analyst Brian Crowley. Good to be back with you. I was on grandpa duty here, happily.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Snake oil or not, as you've covered many a budget as the Tallahassee bureau chief for the Palm Beach Post. Your thoughts on this budget, what it says or doesn't say?
Well, you know, Florida is usually very fortunate that our growth increases the tax dollars every year. Every governor every year proclaims that this is a historic budget, proclaims that you know, we're doing wonderful things and everything is great. And frankly, it just simply depends on your perspective. If you're a teacher feeling like you're not making enough money to pay the rent or pay your mortgage or pay your hurricane insurance, even with the raises that are being planned, it may not be enough to keep you in teaching. If you're you know, a state employee who hasn't had substantial raises for a long time, you know, some people might look at the flooding that we have had going on this past week in South Florida and on the west coast of Florida, and wonder why we haven't spent more over the years in flood prevention and improving, you know, getting the water away quickly when it comes. So it depends on your perspective on these things. There's a lot of good things in the budget that are paying for a lot of good things, but you know, again, it depends on your perspective and whether or not you think you're benefiting or not benefiting.
Democrats continue to hammer away on affordability issues, such a huge problem for Floridians. The insurance crisis, such a huge issue. It'll be interesting both from a dollars and cents and from a political standpoint, the ongoing impact of those kind of arguments as so many Floridians straining right now.
I think homeowners insurance and auto insurance will be a big issue in the coming election, on state and local elections. I think that, you know, it's one thing for the folks in Tallahassee to say we're making progress, we've added a few more insurance companies, but the bottom line is, what was my bill? And even if you see some stabilization or some small cuts in bills, if you've had 100% increases and you get a 3% decrease, it's still a huge bill. And a lot of people are really hurting trying to pay their auto insurance, their homeowners insurance, and they have nowhere to look but Tallahassee to try to find help for that. And I think that's an issue that the governor has been a little too dismissive of in his comments. It's great. If he was living in his own house paying homeowners insurance instead of living in the governor's mansion, he'd probably have an entirely different thought about it. And it's just a matter of showing compassion for people. It's not an easy fix. It's a huge problem. And I think sometimes just the ability to let people know you care can make a big difference for somebody.
Talk about the governor, of course, licking his wounds after a quick bounce out of primary season earlier this year. Seems to have refound his footing. We'll talk on the other side of the break about some of the culture war issues that he keeps getting batted around in the courts by. But overall, it's a sense of somebody who's confident he's found his footing, already looking ahead, perhaps. Your thoughts?
You know, one of the things that strikes me about the governor is he really enjoys being governor. He loves hopping on the state plane almost every day, flying somewhere, having a little press conference to make some kind of announcement about how money's being spent or some new regulation or whatever. I think he really enjoys the power and influence of being governor. It's something that he's never experienced in his life before, having that kind of influence. You know, the kid from a small town suddenly finds himself in the governor's mansion, and he does some really, really good things and some things that people might question. But I think that he's also looking forward to his opportunity to run again for president.
And if the polls were to be believed, perhaps a DeSantis administration after him, some early polling suggesting Casey DeSantis would be the early Republican choice there. Do you put a lot of stock, or any, I know you don't put stock in polls, but very quickly before we move on to something else.
Well, I don't know how they would do it. Let's pretend that Casey DeSantis ran for governor and won. So now she has the governor's mansion. He's running for president. We'll pretend he wins. He's living in the White House. I don't know what they do with the three kids. I guess they're shuffling them back and forth between the two houses.
A lot of frequent flyer miles. On now, as I talked about polls, my longtime friend, to your very favorite topic, not, as you well know, polls. Well, here's one from FAU. The poll of likely voters nationwide found former President Donald Trump still holding a lead over President Biden, but the lead, according to this poll, shrinking. Once a 9-point lead, now down to 6. Trump getting 43% support nationally compared to 37% for the president. And independent candidate Robert Kennedy Jr., 10%, 6% undecided. Nearly 900 surveyed between June 8th and 9th. The poll with a margin of error plus or minus 3.3%. We got the big June 27th presidential debate coming up. Your thoughts, not so much on polls per se, but on the pivotal nature, if you see it that way, of the upcoming debate.
Well, let me just start out with, I will set aside my love of polling for this.
Which won't be hard for you.
And I will simply note, whether it's FAU or anybody else, we don't elect presidents
state
nationally.
by state.
We do it state by state with Electoral College, so a national poll is...
A national poll.
Yeah, fun, great.
Your thought about the debate?
I think the debate is going to be huge. I think it may even be more important for Joe Biden than it is for Donald Trump.
Why?
Because there are even prominent Democrats who have questioned whether or not Joe Biden is mentally capable, whether or not he's losing his touch. And I think it's going to be very important for him to show his stamina, to show his ability to think on his feet, to show his ability to be aggressive if need be, which probably will have to be if you're debating Donald Trump, to not lose his train of thought, and to not seem like he's just losing a step. One could say the same thing about Donald Trump as well.
You're talking about traits here. People, you and I as political junkies, we look at policy, but everything you've talked about are traits they're looking for in their candidate, which oftentimes have a lot more to say about who wins. And talk more about those traits with former President Donald Trump.
Well, Donald Trump is a good performer, whether he's on stage, especially when he's on stage, and but he also can be easy to trip up, and he can tend to wander and not kind of complete a thought, and that might become an issue for him. I think another thing to watch during that debate is Donald Trump is really mad, and he's really mad at what he dubs the Biden Justice Department. And having had this conviction and now facing sentencing on this conviction, I wonder if he's going to be able to control his temper and not lash out at Joe Biden in a very personal, angry way.
And how do voters potentially look at that? And talk about whether it's the debate or if we wait on until November to see the impact, the Kennedy factor.
He's still kind of a mystery. I think for some people, he's just a protest vote. I don't think it's people voting for Kennedy in a lot of cases. I think it's some folks who might look at Joe Biden and Donald Trump and shake their heads and go, the heck with it, I'll vote for Robert Kennedy or somebody else down on the ballot. Just as a matter of protest, because they just are not happy with either candidate. There's not a lot of love for either one of these guys.
There can only be two debates, at least planned right now. Sometimes there's been whole books and libraries written about the impact or lack therein of debates. But you've been covering this a long time. You think this will be as pivotal as one we've seen, even if it's only one of two?
You know, in 1980, I was there for the Ronald Reagan, George Bush debate in New Hampshire, and Ronald Reagan has this angry moment where he stands up. There's a lot of drama leading up to it, where he famously says, "I paid for this microphone." And George Bush didn't present himself well during the debate. It had very little to do with the substance of the debate, but it completely flipped things around because Reagan had been behind at that point, and Reagan suddenly is on the way to becoming president.
And those are the kinds of moments you look for as you and I watch this upcoming debate. Brian, much more with you on the other side of the break. Culture wars in Florida and pushback from a federal court next.